In today's clip, I'll share my thoughts on the British royals and why I think they're completely outdated and should just go away, but most likely won't. Hey, XenPuck here. So one might think I'm gonna use my time to just hate on the royals, specifically the British royals, when they haven't done anything to me personally. Well, that is true. They haven't done anything to me personally. But the fact that they dominate the news despite being a house of uselessness for decades now just tickles my fancy, okay? Imagine if some washed up B or C level celebrity from decades ago, and then somehow that person's kids still dominate the news. Oh wait, that's the Kardashians, isn't it? Okay, I guess it's case solved, right? We Americans are just as silly with our made-up pulp royalty as the Brits are with their old-fashioned kind. Not so fast. All right, let's compare a few different kinds of royalty, all right, and then we'll get to the Brits. Number one, the Thai kind. Now, Thailand has a king. By all measures, he seems like, a regular human being with flaws. Is that a big surprise? Because he is a regular human being, just like the rest of us. King of Thailand poos. You know that, right? Big revelation. This isn't news to anyone, except presumably I can't go about making a poo joke about that dude, because in Thailand, talking shit about the king will get you thrown in jail. So, to make sure that I don't get into trouble, let me just add here, I love the King of Thailand. No, seriously, super duper a lot, because someday I'd like to visit Thailand and not be in jail, because I love Thai food, and I think the Thai people are really nice too. So I gotta mention, I love the King of Thailand. Okay? He is the best at being the King of Thailand. He definitely did not act like a douche towards his primary wife and his mistresses like just a regular bro. Okay, really. Now compared to the other royals, this guy can't even take a joke, so that's where we're at right now. Number two, the American kind. I already mentioned that I think the homegrown royals at this point in the USA are just celebrities, especially celebrities in a clan like the Kardashians, right? Now I will save my extensive thoughts on these people for another clip, but just know that I have very little respect for the Ks. But, and this is a big but that's not Kim's coming in here, okay? At the very least, they are self-made. I mean, honestly, the name Kardashians do not invoke any sense of American history or patriotism whatsoever, right? So how did this clan get to be where it's at in terms of its insistent occupation on the American psyche? Oh yes, because the OG Kardashian, that's Kim, was a shameless social climber whose first known, talents were simply sex tape? But hey, at least she did her own sex tape, right? That's entrepreneurship, if nothing else. At least they worked at ramping up and maintaining their celebritydom. And here we are, okay? I can't even ignore the Kardashian dumpster fire of a clan unless I wanted to gouge my own eyeballs out. That's the extent of royalty in the US, I'd say. So, now on to the third and most important part of our review, right? This brings us to the British royals. For some reason, this group of not particularly attractive stale biscuits are the constant talk of the Anglosphere. I mean, I suppose I should be happy that they're not as harsh with the, moral judgments as the King of Thailand would insist upon thee. But I still can't respect them even the little bit that I would give to the Kardashians, right? Because they're not self-made. Objectively speaking, to me, my biggest complaint is simply that these people, I think the Windsors or whatever, they don't seem very special in any way. Now, I have nothing against the Queen. She seems like a really nice little old lady. But because she and her house refuses to comment or take on any kind of political stance whatsoever, they'll always be following rather than leading by example. Now, I thought the head of state, kings and queens, are supposed to be role models. So then what does it say about the royal followers who follows people whose best, trait is to simply not take a side? How could I call that trait anything but cowardly? Maybe a Brit can explain to me why anyone's supposed to look up to any of the royals? I mean, is it because of their fun little hats? or the reminder of an empire that used to be, or their massive government subsidized estates? I mean, I struggle to come up with any realistic reason why the British royals should be admired at all. Remember, unlike the King of Thailand, they don't even inspire fear in anyone. I mean, now that we've compared 3 different kinds of royals, right? So I understand that there's always going to be a significant amount of Brits and even Americans who are invested in the British royal family, right? For reasons like history or whatever. But I think that's really just because many people are natural followers and could do no more than admire these kind of classist heroes of yore, right? The difference between the American celebrity faux royals and the British monarchical royals is that the historical kind is meant to endure no matter what, right? Whereas we Americans tend to simply prop up and tear down our celebrities as the winds of culture change. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Just like I said, I think the Queen's fine. I also understand the royals do charity work and all that, so that's admirable to some extent, but I don't know why that should be limited to the royals, right? Any group of regular people with money can do that, right? That's not an excuse or even a real job, right? That's what super duper rich people do after they get tired of making more dough, like Bill Gates, okay? Pretty sure Bill Gates even does more in terms of charity than the British royal family, and he's not from some extended historical family, okay? So why do so many Anglophiles obsess, right? Not just care about, but obsess with the royal family? I can really only point to humanity's propensity to be lemmings and followers. That's really it. This is not a knock on the British specifically, of course, right? It manifests in every kind of people, in all cultures of humanity. But in the Brits, it manifests in their inability to tear themselves away from a royal family that at this point is no more than a bunch of, what, like human mannequins? They're so stiff, right? Have you heard what Meghan Markle has been saying? Like, I don't care about that lady. Okay, she should have known what she was getting into. But still, you hear about all the rules that the palace and the royal family puts on its members, and it sounds awful. Like, who wants to live like that? All for the sake of history, right? Of decorum. So you see, I think that's really interesting when you think about it, right? Rules are put in place for a reason, right? So, a great leader like a king and a queen should act in a certain way because they project power. But the British royal family doesn't project power. They have no real power, okay? Just purely symbolic. So why can't they just loosen up a bit? It's okay. In conclusion, don't get me wrong. Human beings love spectacles, and I understand that. And the royal family provides those in spades with what? Weddings and funerals and baby births, right? But come on, here's my suggestion for improvement, right? Because I'm a problem solver. At least pick a more photogenic group, right? Maybe in a survival cross-bachelor type of game show scenario, and we could elect our next group of Anglophile royals instead, right? And you know what? We change it up every decade or so before the eventual, incestuousness downgrade the gene pool. Just like with the real royal family, except with our faux royal family, our elected democratic royal family. So what are your thoughts on the royals? Let me know, and if you enjoyed listening to my rant, comment, share, like, and subscribe, or whatever. Just don't take it too seriously, okay? In the meantime, check out some of my other clips in the corners above.